Hello, dear friends, and I'm very sorry that I'm not able to be with you there in person, but I would certainly like to congratulate UNEP FI on its 25th anniversary. The fact is that you've been working on these issues for 25 years. I'm sure many of you think, why are we still working on them? But I'm here to tell you we're actually very, very close. So let me tell you how close we are. We are 3 years out from being able to decide whether we have actually done our job or not. By 2020, we have to be able to demonstrate that the world has reached a climate turning point. That means that we have reverted the tendency currently of increasing our emissions to a tendency of decreasing emissions. We have 3 years' time in order to do that. If we're not able to revert that tendency, if we're not able to begin to incontrovertibly reduce our emissions, we will have closed the door to 1.5 degrees scenario, and we will be very, very close to closing the door on 2 degrees. You know better than anyone else that that is a scenario that the global economy would not be able to manage. You know that that would mean that we would move into a situation which the insurance industry calls systemically uninsurable. So we have progressed, definitely, over the past few years. Every day I see a new financial institution that is shifting its capital away from high carbon and into low carbon. But actually, only 10% of asset owners and managers currently have systematically mainstreamed climate into their decision, and that is going to have to change. You, more than anyone else, understand that those asset allocations are actually under a double risk. They're under a physical risk, because if they're into physical assets, they do have a risk of being destroyed or damaged by increasing extreme weather events. And secondly, there is a growing value risk, because many of those assets are beginning to lose their value and become stranded. So with the double risk in front of us and the understanding that the shift in capital that needs to occur is in the levels of trillions and not in the level of billions, we definitely need to make a huge effort now over the next 3 years. So I have a challenge for UNEP FI, and I have a challenge for the members themselves, because as you know, I never speak to anyone without challenging Sims. Frankly, none of us are doing as much as we should. So UNEP FI, my challenge to you is for you to already begin to develop a UN Principles of Responsible Banking. The material is right in front of you. You don't have to invent anything. You know what needs to be done, but it needs to be captured in principles that you would draft and that would be taken on board by your members. And members, the challenge for you is we should be able by 2018, in fact, let me give you a specific date, by September of 2018, when we will be in California celebrating a major event of climate action and climate achievement, we should be able to show that the banking industry has been able to reach a shift in its financial allocations that would represent a 2-to-1 ratio with respect to high carbon and low carbon. What I mean by that is each of you should be able to show that you have 2 times as much allocation in low carbon as you do in high carbon. A 2-to-1 ratio by next year is my challenge to you. And that ratio obviously would have to grow over the other few years according to your decarbonization strategy until you can get to a net zero allocation. But let's start with 2-to-1. The investment community has also taken on a huge challenge to have 1% of their allocations into low carbon. This would be the equivalent for the banking institutions and for you. So I do hope that you would be able to take on, build on the experience that you already have, and be able to take on a new challenge for next year. I hope to see you in California to celebrate how you've been able to meet up to that challenge.